2023. Hello, it's Phasma Jarins here, and as I've said since it's Star Wars Podcast Day, you know what? I thought I'd give you a little treat and get involved with all these amazing Star Wars podcasters. I want to give you a huge shout out and thank you for your podcast as well, because I really appreciate it and I love listening to them. So, what am I doing and what am I going to entertain you with today? Well, I'm going to talk about some of the characters that I think stand out. Now, as I said in my preview, I said there would be either characters that I have a relatability to, or people who just stand out for their own special way. Let's get started, and I will go through them as many as I can. I don't know how many characters I'm going to have, but I hope you enjoy it. So let's begin. The Mandalorian is a character that has this appeal in my spin, because Din has this likability, and I think that comes across because he is played by Brendan Wayne and Steve Crowder, who do a major, but the voice is all Pedro Pascal. It really is a joy to watch. This must figure who doesn't want to remove his helmet come up and just say, I'm here. And I think his storyline is very important. It's different, and of course he's trying to find a way he belongs, and he is probably the perfect father to Grogu. In fact, can we take a quick forward? Halt! Grogu! Yes, Grogu is a character that I've fallen in love with the past few years, and I've just got on the hype train with the guy because he's not just a cute thing that really appeals, but the fact he has this special powers that really impress me. And that's what I love about him. His story, he has this emotion. He's double that with Din. There's just something amazing. And I think people love him for all the right reasons. And I just can't wait to see what Grogu has next, because he's turned into one of those characters that can come in and move you with those facial expressions. Boba Fett. Yes, it is, of course, Boba, who has come into my heart thanks to the wonderful performance of Temuera Morrison. But also, there's also some other fantastic people. For example, we have Jeremy Bulloch, and also we have Daniel Logan as well. The character, for me, is one of those characters that he is mysterious. He doesn't use words, but he has this style that I think stands out in a way. I know his Book of Boba Fett appearance has been a bit divisive, but for me, I just love what they did. I like the fact they've changed a bit, but they've kept the same elements in, and I think that's all that matters. And Temuera has done a really great job, and I just feel like his journey in the Boba Fett series is so amazing. He has his hope crushed after the Sarlacc, and then the Tuxans help him burn back, and then he joins forces with another person, Fennec Shand, and they end up becoming what I like to call a sensational double and sensational powerhouse of Mos Espa. And his relationship with Fennec is so great. But Tim brings the amazing style. Daniel brings that youthfulness, and even does great work with, of course, as he voices the character in the Clone Wars. But also Jeremy Bulloch for bringing the character to life all the way back in 1980s. So, yeah, Boba is that character that just is mysterious, but brings us some amazing performances. Fennec Shand. Fennec is one of my favourite female characters of the Star Wars franchise. She's played by Ming-Na Wen, who is one of those actors that can really not only bring out a good performance, but represent her community. And seeing all the people cosplaying her makes me very happy. I just think she has that something that comes out and makes it in her own special way. And Fennec's just that character that not only is given a second chance, which I really love, but we also see her get on with someone else who has suffered the same as her, and it makes them one knows as quite teams, and Tem and Ming-Na get the chemistry praise they deserve because I just love them together. But with Ming-Na, what she brings us is style, grace. She also has a cute appeal as well, and she just brings something different. I mean, for example, I like the way we see Fennec change into a caring figure, especially when there was thank her after saving her. It's one of those moments that brings a new life into the role. But also what I love is the fact that she never misses. It's one of those things that really helps her character stand up, because yes, our Cockiness did get her injured at one point, we know that, but it's changed her, it's helped her, it's made her into a better person. But the fact that she never misses just shows the fact that she is one of those characters that, along with Crosshair, that has some incredible hit rates and brings out the most powerful attributes to a bounty hunter, like Cad Bane did. And I think that's what makes her stand out. She is a character that gives us something different, something fresh, and represents the woman in a strong way. Bo-Katan Kryze. Katie Sackhoff is one of the best actresses for the role for this kind of character. Bo is a character I feel like has that edge, but also feels more powerful. And I think when you look at both the animated and, of course, live action, Bo is one of those characters to deliver and sell it whenever she is. And I just like her attitude, her focus, the way she's biased towards the villains. She is one of those characters that has a brilliant factor that gives her a great performance. And I'm excited to see what Kelly does next, because Bo-Katan is back, and I'm expecting the fire and the energy we saw in Mando too, because she is one of those characters that really amazes me. Peli Motto. Amy Sedaris brings out one of the most iconic and amazing characters in the Amazon. I just love Peli being that woman who gives us that woman in STEM vibe, the way she fixes things. She just has that way of coming across and showing that she is very powerful at what she does, and rightly so, because it's nice to see that relation to women in STEM, and Peli represent all these females who are doing, like, you know, mechanical stuff and all that jazz. But that is why we love her. But also why we all love her, I think, is her relationship with Grogu. She's like the auntie, and that's what makes her stand out, is because she grows into looking after a child. And plus, she's very important because she's the one that not only looks after Grogu, but gives him back to Din. And I love that moment because it shows that Peli cares for Din and Grogu. And also what I love is the fact that she introduces Din to a new ship, and it's one of those moments where she knows what she's talking about. And I like that, and I like the firepower, and I like it when she has that chat with the Jawas and all that fast, because Peli is that character that brings it to me. And I'm excited for Mando 3. So what is this robot then? And what does she give it? I'm going to see what robot gift Peli has, and I'm really excited for Amy's return. Clone 99 is one of those characters that I have a personal relation to. And I think for me, he's just a character that has that emotional connection. He deserves way better. But D. Bradley Baker brings out a completely different side to the clones with Clone 99. And I think that is a really amazing job for him to do. And he's great at all the clone voices. But this one's probably the one of the few that has that emotional and relatability. I think Clone 99 is that hero who helps out when it turns out that people really need help, and he's there. And I think that's what makes him a beautiful character. I feel like him and Heavy don't see eye to eye, and then it manages to rouse up 99. And it also begins this thing where phones are not just numbers. And that's how much of an impact 99 has in the series for me. Rekka! Rekka is a character that I personally relate to. And I just love him because he's such a character. Not only he is violent, but he has a comedy edge. And of course, he has that kid-friendly edge. And I think that's what makes him one of those characters that you don't expect to be as kind to children. And I think that shows when you look at him. He may be kind of a character that can be so violent, but the fact is, what they've done is they've developed him into a more knowledgeable character. And he's kind of changing in a way, especially throughout his story arc. He's starting to learn more and be more knowledgeable. And he even made a cannon to defeat the Imperials back on Sereno. Honestly, he's one of those characters that just surprises me. And I just love him for that surprise because he just makes me happy. And I just love it when I watch him because he is that character that I think that has that surprise. As I've said, he has that surprise. Hunter is one of the characters that is different, but also a character that changes throughout his entire story. I like the fact that he is seen as the military type in his first appearance, and then he's seen to success. And then I like the way that we see him mellow and take on Echo, because he sees the fact that he is different and feels like if he wanted to move on from being an arc reaver and join him, it really makes this character stand out. But one of the things that really does stand out for me is his change into that father figure, especially with Omega and now with Gungi. He's turned into a character, but also has learned how to still be a soldier and help people. And I think the arc is really helping him become a character that is wanting to change in life. Now he's no longer working for the Empire. It just makes his character be that extra special, and that recurring gag of people becoming parents, and Dee Bradley Baker makes Hunter sound with those voices, and yeah, it's just one of my favourite characters. Crosshair is one of the most unique characters in the entire history of Star Wars. He has epic one-liners. He's one of the strongest marksmen in the series, and he has one of those stories that you kind of don't like him for because he's doing the wrong thing, but then again you do kind of feel sorry for him because he deserves way better than this, and you have to feel mad but also have to feel sincere, and I think that's what, in my opinion, makes the character stand out. I mean, in his first appearance we see him from being a bit angry with Rex, and then of course his one-liners, and then his like competitiveness with Rekka, and then for him to take that away when he joins the Empire, it just is one of those sad moments. But I think a lot of people feel the same way, and I think that's a really good result when you look across the story arc, because a lot of people love it, and yeah, he deserves all the credit. Tech is another character that really is relatable because I kind of speak random facts, I sometimes cut in, and I think he is the perfect character for me to kind of relate to. And I see a lot of people who relate to him the same, and I think Tech's that character that you all want to love and bring a bit of appreciation, because you need a Tech in the Bad Batch, and Tech is what the Bad Batch needs. And Tech is the one that gives us a lot of facts. He is saying things, but also, as people have noticed, he is changing in some of his attitudes, and that's growth for Tech. And I think that Tech is definitely going to continue to grow because he is the person that can easily surprise everyone. Echo is one of those characters that really stands out for his start. We first see him as a reg, and he's part of Domino Squad, and he's often bullied because of his tendency of repeating orders. But when he's killed but not killed because he's been forced to work for the Techno Union Separatists. It's kind of one of those shocking knocks because he's rescued and then he has to prove himself, and he does, and it's one of those heartbreaking but emotional stories. And then with the Bad Batch seeing what he is and knowing that he could be useful to the team and him being accepted is one of those moments where Echo gets a second chance with them, and it's a very important thing. I like the way that he is definitely the opposite to Hunter in the Bad Batch, because that makes him special. He knows that they should be doing more. He knows that they need to care for him, and he wants what's best for both of them, and that's what makes him very important. But also, he is also Tech's partner in terms of comedy, because they often make me laugh when they're arguing, bickering, and I think that's what makes him stand up. He is the other techno genius, and that's what makes him stand. But also, he has a heart, and he's definitely grown in character arc, and I'm excited to see what he can do, because I think a lot of people obviously want more from him, and I'm hoping that we get more from him. Omega is probably another character that benefits better from growing from her first appearance to now, and I think that's very important because she's a kid, she is special, and sometimes that can work against a character who needs protecting all the time. But with Omega, she's different. I think she's just a very great sound maker. We see her learn how to control her Zygerian bow, which is her trademark weapon, and it's one of the most beautiful pieces of kit, and she really works with that. I love the fact that she has an effect on Hunter and the crew with her heartfeltness, and it's important to watch her journey because she's definitely growing in character. And is she becoming different? Is she putting herself more in danger? Yes, she is, but that's the thing, she's a kid. And I think, as Logan once said about kids always getting into trouble, that's the same will apply to Omega, like I said. And she has that caringness for the crew, especially when Wrecker is controlled and nearly kills Omega at Wrecker. She compliments him and says it wasn't his fault. That's a heartfelt moment from the young clone. That is a heartfelt. I mean, she is as this way because she's haunted and people are after her, but I think with what she's gone through and what she probably will go through next, she just has a great story. I have grown to love Captain Rex throughout the last few months. He's a character who has one of the best stories in the entire franchise. I love the moments where we see him, develop and improve and become the character we all know and love. I like his journey from just a normal captain to a clone hero, and we see him care more for his clone brothers. We see him lose brothers from Fives, and of course he also, even though he's not there, he also loses Top as well. And he's very crucial in the series 7 because we see him have that moment and he shines and he saves his friend Echo, who joins the Bad Batch, but also we see him get emotional when he's saved from his inhibitor chip, and that's probably one of the most important moments because he saw it from Fives, even though he couldn't say and he was killed sadly. But the fact we see Rex have that moment and he is emotionally affected by it, and that's what makes it very count, and that's what makes it lovely. I also love his role in the Bad Batch because he really helps the Bad Batch in their already. They have a ticking time bomb with Wrecker. He comes in and says, "We've got to free him. We've got to get those ships out of you. Trust me, it's something you can't control." Those lines and those moments make him a very special. And I think a lot of people love him because he's well loved, he's very popular, and I think that's what makes him an amazing character. Ahsoka Tano is one of the strongest female characters out there. I feel like I love her growth from kid to adult, and she's definitely a character I personally think gives me a lot of chills, especially what she has to go through, and that's what I love. And the performances of Ashley Eckstein when she did the voice, and Rosario Dawson's performances, it's really impressive. I mean, for Rosario Dawson, I'm excited to see what she has next because she's got a new double actor, Natasha Liu, who is also going to be amazing Sabine. I love their chemistry. But I think with Ahsoka, I think what brings the moments and the talent is how she has to go through nearly being prosecuted for something she did to becoming a very important ally for the Rebel Alliance, and that's what makes her really shine. And I think a lot of people love her for what she gives. She's just that character that is very well developed. I mean, her maybe sometimes at the beginning, yes, there was a few where people did criticize, but I think the thing is, that's what made her stronger in the future. She had a bad start and she grew, and I think that's what is important with Ahsoka. She gets that to them, and I'm so proud she is, because that's what makes her one of the strongest characters out there. Grief Karga is a legend. Carl Weathers brings a lot to it, and I always love him for it, but I also love Carl as a director as well, because he does some of the best episodes. Grief is one of those characters that I like seeing become from a villain to a hero, and he is. And what I love about his transgression and transformation is he has that most important moment. He has to build a community, and he does. And he recruits Mando to help him stop the Imperials, and he has to deal with Mithrils not wanting to do anything, and and his banter is so, but his love for his friends is one of the most important aspects. He has more of connection, he cares for them more. I'm excited to see what Ruth does next, because obviously he's a magistrate. He has to build the Royal back from the damages from the Imperials, and he's definitely one of those characters that will deliver when he does, because those moments are where he really shines. Cara Dune is one of my favourite female characters of The Mandalorian. I just love her, from seeing her not wanting to be involved with stuff to becoming a hero, and she's definitely one of those characters that really gets on with The Mandalorian. They have an early good friendship, and she helps him out throughout the series, including saving Grogu, and it's one of the successful of course characters to help in. She's also asked him for help with Grief when they took on the last of the Imperials, and it's a very important moment, especially when you look at terms of character development for Grogu, Moff Gideon, and Din. She's really crucial to that. I'm just good that we won't see more of her, because I felt she was one of the best characters we had, and it's just going to see all these things happen. But yeah, I definitely am going to miss Cara, and I still think she could have had more time to shine. Anakin Skywalker is one of those characters that we see from turn from good to bad to good, and I still think he is one of those characters that has a lot of fans, and I just think his story is really tragic, but it also helps us understand what went wrong and what it took room to turn around again. And I still think he's one of those strongest characters out there, and I think, yes, he's flawed in a way, but his flaws kind of make him the character he is, especially when you see him lose faith in Jedi to turn into the Sith, and then he ends up in the body of Darth Vader, and he just really is scary, but he really is a very important character, especially in all the things we've seen him in. I think he definitely has that edge over a few villains, and he's definitely one of the strongest villains out there as well. Hello there, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yes, of course it's Obi. Yes, the man, the myth, and I was also who I like to call a complete British gentleman. Yes, yes, I just love Ewan McGregor and Alec, yes, and of course James Allen Taylor for what they bring to the role. He's just one of those characters that has something different, something stellar. And it reminds me of the old Doctor Who days when we had characters like Ian Chesterton and, of course, the first Doctor. It goes back to all those days. Oh, I'll tell you another person who's complete gentleman. The 12th Doctor. Complete gentleman. Yeah, so it's nice to have that. I think his story is very intriguing. And I like the fact that he has that moment in Obi-Wan, because it shows that he does have regrets, but the fact it comes back shows character growth. And I think that's very important, especially when you look at the original trilogy. It really helps Alec's progression there. and it really is important to note that. I just think Obi's still a lovely guy, and I think there's something about the accent that really is amazing. For example, Lego Summer Holiday, the thing, James Artel's vocal masterpiece of Gamorrean guys and Gamorrean girls. Honestly, his bits are amazing, and so are singers. But the point is, it's a good song. Yeah, love Obi, love you, Obi. Okay, Emperor Palpatine, or as I like to call him, the legend. I think he's one of the best ones out there, personally. I like how we see him, like, take it slowly at the beginning, so building up his attack on the Jedi, and he really comes across well. And Ian McDiarmid does a fantastic performance as Palpatine and Darth Sidious, and I think that's why he's so amazing. I have to say, I mean, I know people might not like Return of Skywalker, but actually, the more I think about it, I actually felt Darth Sidious was used quite well. I like the use of clones. I still think he's definitely one of those memorable villains. There is a lot of other characters like Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, Jar Jar Binks, Padme Amidala, and I just want to say, even though I can't mention all of them, there's so many great characters, and I just want to say, you're all amazing, and I appreciate all the hard work you put in. I also want to do a quick thank you to Star Wars Podcast for preparing all this, for making this possible. I'm really glad that I've been given the opportunity to share my love for Star Wars, and I'm going to give a huge shout out to everyone else taking part in every other podcast out there. I love your content. Can't wait for what we've got next. Thank you for listening to this special podcast. Please like and subscribe to this channel and comment to me on YouTube, on the Fast and John's page, or on the comment section of this video. Also, you can contact me on @FastRun22 on Facebook and on Twitter. Please check out the other podcasts involved in the Star Wars Podcast Day 2023, because this day is for every podcast who wants to celebrate Star Wars and bring their own twists. And I just want to give a huge shout out to them. You're amazing podcasters. Let's keep the Star Wars positivity going. And I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye, guys. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Subscribe to Phasma and Jara